Some sentences land softly, like a reassuring hand on your shoulder. They sound considerate, almost tender. Yet beneath their polite veneer pulses a current of control strong enough to drag you beneath yourself. Swiss analyst Carl Gustav Jung called that hidden riptide the shadow, the disowned parts of our psyche that, when ignored, steer the ship from below deck. When a man speaks through that darkness, his voice becomes a forecast of storms. Words are cheap, but they're not free. Every syllable he offers is a promissory note on your future emotional balance. Cash them too late, and you'll discover the ink was made to disappear. The 5 lines I'm about to dissect are printed on that counterfeit currency. Hear even one, and the wisest move is to gather your things, square your shoulders, and leave before the cost compounds. This isn't rom-com wisdom. It's self-preservation for your psyche. Before we dive in, remember, departing is not defeat. It is fidelity to yourself. Marcus Aurelius, battle-hardened emperor, wrote nightly reminders never to let another person's chaos rent space inside his skull. Same principle here. The moment you sense an undealt shadow crossing the table, settle the tab and step into daylight. Stay too long, and you'll start negotiating against your own intuition. And intuition, once bargained with, rarely speaks up twice. First landmine, take me or leave me. This is just who I am. The sentence often drifts in on a sigh, dressed as honesty. Listen closer. What he's really declaring is a permanent ceasefire with his own evolution. Jung insisted that growth begins where alibis end. This man keeps a pocket full of them. He isn't inviting acceptance, he's demanding immunity. Accepting immutable traits in a partner is healthy. Excusing corrosion is not. Hold that phrase up to the light and you'll see the fine print. You must shrink so I can stay the same. Soon you're twisting yourself to avoid the jagged edges he refuses to sand down. Temper, irresponsibility, disloyalty. Pick your poison. Real partnership is 2 architects drafting a taller structure together. The take me or leave me guy hands you a broom and asks you to sweep around his crumbling foundation. Sweep long enough and you'll forget you ever wanted to build. Ask yourself, does his so-called authenticity inspire you to grow, or does it deputize you to babysit? If it's babysitting, that's not authenticity, it's laziness with slick marketing. A man rooted in self-respect won't weaponize his flaws as preset conditions. He'll treat them as projects, invite collaboration, and thank you when you hold him to his better nature. Anything less, exit. Stage left. Second red flag arrives gift-wrapped in wounded humor. Every woman before you was crazy. Delivered with an eye roll, perhaps a chuckle? Certainly a hint that he's the lone sane witness of his romantic past. Translation: I paper over my patterns by casting myself as the hero. Jung warned that what we refuse to own within, we project without. By painting all exes as lunatics, he airbrushes himself into sainthood. Statistically, the odds that every former partner belonged to a secret coven of chaos are microscopic. Far more likely, the same unexamined habits followed him from relationship to relationship, like a bad smell clinging to his coat. Stoic teacher Epictetus noted that events don't disturb us, our judgments about them do. If his judgment always absolves him, beware. The next verdict will condemn you. Here's the danger. His narrative forces you into an audition. Subconsciously, you'll strive to prove you're not crazy, policing your tone, backing down in disagreements, apologizing for normal emotion. That's the trap. The moment you start dancing for the not crazy crown, you accept his premise that every breakup was the woman's fault. Meanwhile, the unspoken constant, his conduct, skates by unexamined. Healthy men speak of past lovers with nuance. Praise where it's due, accountability where they failed, realism everywhere else. Grown adults know 2 people co-author any story, for better or worse. The perpetual victim, on the other hand, sprays blame like cheap cologne. If he can't own his half of yesterday, he will not own his share of tomorrow. Should you challenge his revisionist history, watch the room temperature drop. Defensive jokes, a hurried subject change, perhaps the subtle accusation that you're too sensitive. All signs you've tugged a wire connected to his shadow. Leave the wire. Walk. Let him wrestle with the echo chamber he built. We're only 2 phrases in, and the pattern is clear. Each line is less about communication and more about evasion. Evasion of growth, of responsibility, of truth. The next 3 escalate from benign neglect to outright manipulation, turning affection into leverage and freedom into a rigged maze. We'll dismantle those next, but first, inhale. Exhale. Remember, your peace is non-negotiable currency. Spend it wisely. Third landmine detonation. If you actually loved me, you'd... And the blank is always tailored to your softest spot. Maybe it's skipping a friend's birthday, sharing passwords, lending money, siding with him against your own judgment. Note the construction. He places affection on a hook and dares you to jump for it. Love, in his formulation, is performance art scored by his needs. But real love, the sort that widens lungs and horizons, is voluntary movement of the heart. The moment it's stapled to compliance, it stops breathing and becomes a bargaining chip. Jung called this maneuver possession by the animus, the darker masculine force that, when unchecked, turns relationship into conquest. He also warned that whatever we refuse to develop consciously will manipulate others unconsciously. This man does not ask, he orchestrates. He taps an ancient alarm inside you, the fear of being deemed unlovable. That fear is his joystick. Early on, the requests feel minor, even romantic. If you loved me, you'd answer my texts right away. You oblige because why not? A week later, if you loved me, you wouldn't need a girls' weekend. You hesitate, he sulks, you cancel. Then the demand grows claws. If you loved me, you'd move in, quit that job, cut ties with your mentor. Each concession moves the boundary posts another yard onto your internal property until you can't recall where the original fence stood. Here's the secret nobody practicing emotional blackmail wants revealed. Genuine love is indifferent to proof. It exists or it doesn't. Actions may express it, but they can't create it. A man secure in himself trusts the bond enough to allow disagreement, delay, even denial. The blackmailer distrusts both himself and you, so he builds a scaffolding of conditions. Remove one plank and he predicts the collapse of everything. That prophecy is his problem, not yours. The antidote is radical transparency. Respond with calm clarity. Love isn't a debit card. You don't get to swipe it every time you're short on comfort. If he hears you, he may feel a sting, then recalibrate. If he doubles down, accusing you of coldness, spinning new ultimatums, congratulations, the mask has slipped. Believe what you're seeing. File under evidence and exit through the nearest door marked self-respect. Fourth siren call. You're just not enough. 3 words and a pause long enough to hollow out a rib cage. Sometimes he dresses it up, more mature, more passionate, more feminine. Sometimes he leaves it naked. Either way, the payload is the same: engineered inadequacy. Jung observed that criticism, aimed like a dagger, usually traces back to the wielder's own unintegrated wound. He lacks inner fullness, so he cuts a hole in you and scoops handfuls, hoping to stuff his void. Here's how the cycle unfolds. Day 1. He compares you to an ex, a celebrity, a hypothetical real woman. Day 10. You're in the gym at dawn, deleting photos, Googling personality tweaks. Day 30. You've traded hobbies, sheathing your soul for upgrades he designed. Meanwhile, his appetite expands, because scarcity cannot be sated externally. You could morph into Aphrodite with an MBA and he'd still sense deficiency. Only now he'd blame you for making perfection feel boring. Marcus Aurelius offered a shield for this arrow centuries ago. The opinion of someone else is only an echo, unless you grant it room in your head. Translation for today. Unless the critique lands on a truth you already suspect, it's noise. And if it does mirror a genuine growth edge, a caring partner will frame it as mutual advancement, not a verdict on your value. So filter the message through 2 questions. Is this observation delivered with respect? Is it paired with his own accountability? If not, walk. No debate, no seminar on your virtues. Leave detritus of his projection reigning behind you while you move toward people who see you in 32-bit color, flaws included, wonder intact. The 5th and slipperiest phrase slides in under the guise of generosity. Fine, do whatever you want. Note the pitch drop, the averted eyes, the tension thick enough to slice. On paper, it grants freedom. In practice, it's a tripwire. You're meant to step across and trigger a blast of sulking, silence, or rage that proves you disrespected him. Jung termed this passive shadow expression, aggression that tiptoes in slippers rather than boots, yet bruises all the same. The danger lies in the ambiguity. Human brains crave clarity. Lacking it, we ruminate. You replay conversations, dissect his tone, draft texts seeking reassurance. You do his emotional labor for him. That's the hidden contract. He withholds direct communication. You bend yourself into origami guessing the rules. But passive control only works if you buy the game board. Refuse to play. Accept his words at face value without the accompaniment of his pout. If he says, "Sure, go out with your friends," thank him, go, and have an extra dessert. Two outcomes follow. He realizes ambivalence earns zero dividends and switches to honest dialogue, or he spirals into grand theatrics that confirm your decision to keep walking. Either result serves your serenity. At this point, you've mapped the minefield. Resignation to growth, historical blame, emotional ransom, weaponized inadequacy, and covert sabotage. 5 phrases, 1 through line. Avoidance of self-responsibility. Each statement waves a red flag, not because men say them once, humans are learning machines, we misspeak, but because some men build their identity upon them. Those men are not partners, they're projects with no completion date. You are not rehab. You are not a PhD thesis on fixing fractured masculinity. You are a living, laughing, fiercely complex woman walking her own spiral path toward fullness. The companion you deserve recognizes the privilege of witnessing that journey and meets you on parallel ground, tools in hand, shadows owned. So next time a conversation tilts and one of these 5 missiles whistles through the air, pause. Feel the hairs rise on your forearms. That's your nervous system performing its ancient duty. Honor it. Then choose from the menu. Set a boundary, invite mature discussion, or gather your light and leave. Whatever you pick, do it swiftly, without apology. Jung reminded us that indecision invites possession. Delay is the devil's playground. If your chest feels lighter hearing these truths, share them. Post the phrase that once caught you off guard, the moment you realized it wasn't love talking, but fear in costume. Your story could be the lighthouse someone else steers by tonight. Up ahead, better conversations await, ones that start with "how can we grow" and end with both souls standing a little taller. Guard your peace until you reach them, then open the gates wide. Breathe with me one last time, slow pull of air, full release. Feel how space opens in your ribs when you claim oxygen without asking permission. That freedom is the template for every bond you choose from this moment forward. Because now the disguises are off. You've heard the soundtrack of sidestepped accountability. The take me or leave me anthem, the chorus of crazy exes, the guilt-heavy ballad of conditional affection, the dirge of engineered inadequacy, the silent treatment symphony. 5 tracks, 1 album titled "I Refuse to Grow." You've memorized the lyrics. You no longer have to dance. Yet awareness alone won't shield you. Predators of the psyche count on your rationalizations. Maybe he's just tired, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe love is supposed to hurt a little. Those maybes are exit ramps off your own intuition. Jung warned that the mind, faced with conflict, will invent elaborate arguments to protect its comfort zones. The remedy is ruthless presence. Hear the words, feel the gut jolt, act before self-doubt rewrites the scene. Action looks different for everyone. Sometimes it's a single sentence delivered calm and steady. That doesn't work for me. Other times it's a weekend of packing boxes while your heart pounds like war drums. Either way, the common denominator is motion. Forward, outward, away from the gravitational pull of someone else's unexamined darkness. Motion is how you teach your nervous system that safety lives on the other side of truth, not in the paralysis of what if. And let's make one truth crystal clear. Walking away is not cynicism. It's optimism aimed inward. You believe so fiercely in the possibility of reciprocal, conscious love that you refuse counterfeits. The marketplace of connection rewards that standard. Leave counterfeit bills at the register and walk on. Real currency will find you because your energy now signals exact change only. Still, the world is loud with advice that muddles boundaries. Self-help soundbites urging unconditional compassion, cultural scripts painting women as healers first, individuals second. Compassion matters, but it is not a hall pass. Healing another person is sacred work they must schedule with themselves. Your role, if invited, is witness and ally, never surgeon. The moment your presence becomes their anesthesia, you've exited relationship and entered triage. Hold this distinction like flint in your pocket. Empathy listens, responsibility fixes. You can offer one without the other. You might cry about childhood scars. You can nod, feel the tremor in your own chest, and still refuse behaviors that slice you open. Love with eyes wide, heart warm, boundaries steel. Perhaps you're thinking about the exceptions. the friend whose partner turned around, the couple who crawled from ashes to altar. Anecdotes inspire, but they do not erase probabilities. Anyone can change, far fewer choose to. And real change announces itself not with promises, but with pattern shifts measured over seasons. No raised voice for 6 months, therapy appointments kept, apologies delivered and integrated. Anything less is marketing copy. You are not in the business of speculative investment on a stock that repeatedly crashes. Let's flip the lens for a minute. These 5 toxic refrains survive because they work on some level. They hook to ancient receptors, our longing for attachment, our fear of abandonment, our social conditioning to smooth conflict. Knowing that, you can practice preemptive immunity. Daily rituals of self-anchoring. Journaling victories, movement that reminds muscles they are sovereign, stillness that reminds spirit it is whole. A person rooted in self-regard is harder to uproot with cheap words. Picture it. You, months from now, stepping into a date with shoulders rolled back, laugh lines unapologetically visible, expectations clear, but not brittle. Conversation flows, red flags are either absent or addressed on the spot. There's lightness because nothing covert lurks beneath the table. That reality is not fantasy. It's the mathematical outcome of standards enforced early and consistently. And should you stumble, should a silver-tongued echo of these phrases slip through your defenses, extend the same grace to yourself you once lavished on the undeserving. Forgive, learn, recalibrate. Jung reminded us that wholeness includes shadow work of our own. Maybe your shadow craves validation. Maybe it recoils from solitude. Face it, integrate it, and you cut the puppet strings that toxic partners love to tug. Now I turn the mirror toward you. How many of these sentences have brushed your ears, prickled your skin, unsettled your dreams? Which one lingered longest, looping at 3 a.m. while you questioned your sanity? Speak it into the comment space below. Not as confession, but as liberation. Shared patterns lose their fangs in daylight, and your story could map a safe exit for someone still wandering the maze. While you're there, tap subscribe. Not for vanity metrics. I'm unconcerned with numbers, but because every week we meet here to deconstruct the subtle warfare of unconscious relationships and to practice the martial art of inner steadiness. The algorithm may never grasp soul work, but together we can nudge it in that direction. If today's exploration reset your compass, share the video with a sister, a coworker, the stranger on the train scrolling through her messages with that telltale furrow in her brow. Education spreads quickest at the speed of empathy, and empathy, multiplied, becomes culture shift. Remember always, peace is not a mood, it's a maintenance plan. Guard it like the last candle in a winter blackout. Anyone who tries to snuff it with excuses, blame, guilt, scarcity, or riddles reveals allegiance to chaos. Meet chaos with a closed gate and a silent prayer that he finds his own light. Then turn toward the horizon. There's a sunrise scheduled just for you, and it waits for no one. You owe no explanations for choosing clarity over confusion, fullness over fragments, love that expands over love that imprisons. That choice echoes across every cell, telling your past selves they were seen, telling your future self she can trust you, telling the world exactly how to treat you. Speak it like a vow. I protect my heart's quiet, I honor my mind's knowing, I walk when words turn into weapons. And if ever doubt whispers that you're asking too much, revisit these 5 phrases, hear their hollow clang, and let the emptiness remind you. You were never demanding, only discerning. Thanks for being here, for doing the hard inner reps most people skip, for refusing the discount version of love. I'll see you in the next conversation, where we'll keep sharpening vision, fortifying boundaries, and celebrating the fierce ease that arrives when 2 complete people meet. Until then, stand tall and walk light. The shadow is real, but so is your sun.